Okay, so breaks down and I'm going to go ahead and add in chromosomes form. Okay, and this will all be in part of that first prophase, just like in mitosis. But something special is going to happen to those chromosomes, we know, in meiosis. But we'll look at the differences in a second. All right, somebody other than Annette, she's already got 2 check pluses. Somebody tell me another one. Similarity. What are they both making? Cells. Okay, both are cell divisions, but for different purposes. Okay, what are they also both used as for a type of reproduction? Okay. Is there another one that you would think of that's not up there? Because y'all, there's lots of answers, and you just got to remember 3. So what is there another one that's not up there that you would remember that we said earlier? Because I don't want it to be about memorization. I want you to picture the concept. I want you to, understand, all right, what's the whole point of this? So it's both making cells, so both can be involved in type of reproduction. We're making different types of cells, which we'll put down below. They both have to double their DNA before, and they have interphase before. Do they both have the same stages?
What's it called?
PMAT. That's one a lot of folks put. I mean, and it's true. It's just one has 2 PMATs, one only has 1 PMAT. So, so they're both cell divisions with PMAT. So, both use PMAT stages. Okay. Or have PMAT stages. And I think that's good. So, whatever you can picture for 3 of those. Now, let's get out and look at the differences. What are the first differences that come to mind?
One is asexual. One is asexual. Asexual and sexual.
All right, so one's used for asex, one makes cells for sexual. All right, so with respect to reproduction. All right, so Craig said earlier that this one's used for asexual. Well, this one is used for, zoom out, sexual. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and do, with respect to type of cells made. So what kind of cells are made by mitosis? All right, so, well, we're going to say chromosome number. Hold on to that. Well, we could, I guess. Yeah, we'll put 2 in body or somatic cells. And technically, if you say that, that's 2 answers, because I'll give you credit for the 2 in for diploid, and I'll give you credit for the body cell part. So that's like 2 answers in one. Okay, so what can we put over here for meiosis? All right, so make sex cells. All right, and what's another word for sex cells that they may use?
Gametes.
Yeah.
What?
Gametes. And that just means sperm and egg, but they may use that instead. Okay, how about the number of cells made at the end?
The one crate one, the one crate's 2 and the one crate's 1.
Well, so you just missed the first part, but it's actually 4. It divides twice. So we can say 1 cell creates 2, and 1 cell divides, and we get 4 in the end. Okay, so 4 haploid sex cells and 2 diploid body cells. Okay, how about number of divisions? How many divisions did the cell go through over here? 1. 1. How many over here? 2. And because of that, it's considered reduction division because it just divides it again. So we get half the chromosomes in those cells. Is there anything missing that y'all would say?
For mitosis, there's no change in the number of chromosomes.
Okay. Yeah, so this is chromosomes. So 2N to 2N, no change. And then this is reduction. So it goes 2N to 1N. Good.
And meiosis, they mix together.
Yeah. So meiosis. I'm running out of room. Sneak it in here. So let's put crossing over. I'm just going to put, because they're going to call it crossing over on your exam. So crossing over occurs prophase 1. No. All right. Didn't occur. Or doesn't occur. Okay, so, all right, nice. So let's draw a picture. The rules are, I know when an AP classes, when you're writing an essay, this could be part of an essay. They'll say you can draw a picture, say see the picture below. You can't draw the margins or any of that, but you can draw a picture to help you explain something. For some of you, it's easier to do that. So let's just kind of draw it out so that way you'll have it up here. So if we have one cell like this, it's split into 2, and then it splits again. So we're going to pretend they're sperm, but we just have to remember that, that took place in between. So it looks like 4 balloons at the end. Okay, so this would be at G1, and then at S, and then this starts with meiosis 1 and meiosis 2, since there's 2 divisions. And that might help. You just picture that. Okay. All right, so here's the kicker. If these cells are genetically different, and these cells aren't, then what type of reproduction would help your survival? To be asexual only or to be sexual? Yeah. So any genetic differences that y'all see out there between individuals, look at dogs. All dogs are the same breed. If they could do it, the mechanics of it all, a Great Dane and a Chihuahua can have a baby. They're the same species, but look at all the genetic variation within the species. They have more genetic variation than we do as a human race, probably, species. So that's how it would work for this. How would we draw mitosis over there? Yeah, you start off the same way. Okay, because we've said you're going to start off the exact same way, but you're going to end right here. And we're done. And then those cells go through the cell cycle again, and they make more. But we also said that for these, each one of them is different. So they're not going to be cloned sperm at all. Okay, so over here, that's all I'm going to draw is that same thing. So 2N, G1 splits into 2, 2N. So S, and that would just be M, because we only have one M. phase for them. Meiosis. Does that kind of make sense? Right. So they're probably not going to put the word, two in and two in all the time, or one in. They're probably going to use the words diploid and haploid. So if you have a hard time remembering those, just make a note. Two in is the word diploid, and one in equals haploid. And so for us, 46 and 23. So it's kind of like our little cheat notes up there. So that way, if you see it, there might be a question just about humans. Okay. Well, technically, we've already moved down into number 4 a little bit too. I'm just kind of combining it all and looping it around. Okay. All right. So that's that. Now, on the back, when we get to the video, you have to have the answers to 15 of the 20 questions. Okay, I think there's 20 questions. There's 21 questions. The last one says 25. You have to find the answer to 15 of those. These will be great. Okay, you'll end up giving it to me tomorrow because I want you to have this to study. But when you turn this in, you have to have at least 15 questions. If you do more than that, they're extra credit. Okay, so when we get to it, just so hold on and be able to put your hand back on that. Let's go over here and answer the rest of these real quick like. So this kind of reviews the asexual stuff again, and then we'll go through each of those.
Is that in this paper?
It has these pictures on it. Like that. It should look like this. Did you get that? Okay, I'll give it to you. It's all blurry. Okay, so how about the first question? They're asking you to compare this little bud baby off its mama. How do they compare? Before you even look at the answers, what do we know? Is this asexual or sexual? Asexual. So what's always going to be true about the baby's asexual mates? Identical, right? So find the answer and just see. Okay. All right. Now the next one is, I love this one. So formation of egg and sperm, we just went over that, okay? So, however, I would start with growth. What is always going to be the cell division for growth? Mitosis. Okay, so meiosis, go ahead and mark out number 1. I'll mark out number 3. Because you know it's always going to be mitosis, so I just put dots next to them. Now, go across. How do we make egg? How do we make sperm? Meiosis. So, what's the answer? D. Meiosis makes egg, meiosis makes sperm, just difference in boy and a girl. So it is D. Love that question. So that's really a very similar to what you'd see on the EOC. The next one too. All right, so which of those describes asexual reproduction? First of all, how many parents do you always have? For asexual? 1. So mark out the 2. Okay. So what's true about the offspring that are made?
They're identical.
Identical to the parent. You got it. So it's A. So not too bad. Okay. How about the next one? A nerve cell of a worm is 20 chromosomes. Is a nerve a sperm cell or like a gamete, or is it a body cell? Body cell. So so this would be 2N, all right? Body cells are all 2N. So how many would the sperm have? Reduction, division. There you go. That's the answer. Okay, nice. Or half. So half of 20. Okay, do the next one. So an egg cell has 4. Okay, so egg cells have half the number, right? So a normal chromosome number of a winged cell, which is their body, would have how many? Double, which is 8. Yeah. Does everybody see how we did that? Okay. All right. How about number 6? Here's some bread mold. Shooting out these little individual babies, which we said are in these tiny little things some people are allergic to. So they're spores. Yep. Every spore is a baby. So I was describing it as confetti, just shooting out the top of your head. And each little confetti would be a clone of yourself if it could sprout. Okay. All right. How about this next one? So parent plant, it already gives you a hint. There's one parent. And this is one of those spider plants you've seen probably people have. And look at all these babies that it's making. Now it looks like budding to me, but we know since it's a plant, we don't call it budding. So what do we call this? They even tell you in the question, but remember what type of asexual? What do they say? And it means kind of plant. Yeah. So vegetative, vegetable, plant, propagation. Well, what can we say about the DNA in here and the DNA in there? They're the same. So it is C. Yep. Now, if you see any words about gametes, that's sex cells. We're not talking about, there's not 2 different plants there. So we're not even going there. All right, how about this next one? Uncontrolled cell division every day of the week. Cancer. Got it. Some of these are the same questions. So, all right. So how many parents do we have with this amoeba? 1. So how do these 3 things compare? All right. So look for the answer that says exactly genetically the same. Annette, don't answer. Yeah, it is. So they're all the same. So it is A. All right, I love this one. This one kind of surprised some people in the other classes. So starfish are predators. I don't know, for some reason people picture Patrick and he's like nice and squishy and not a predator. Well, starfish are predators. They don't have eyeballs, but they have very strong suction cups. So what they do is they like mussels and clams. So like, you know what a clam is, or mussel or oyster? So what they do is they attach onto it and pull it apart, and they literally invert their stomach and stick it inside the shell and pull out the guts of the clam back into its body. So it would be like your belly button being its mouth, and you actually turning your gut its wrong side out into the shell and then pulling the food back into your body. So if I'm one of these fishermen and I'm collecting clams, and I want to try to, these guys, I guess, or girls, were trying to get rid of these starfish. So they collect them, they cut them up into pieces and throw them overboard. But then they find out that the population increased. It didn't kill them. This is true.
We can mark out D and C.
All right, so you can mark out D. C is one-celled organism. That's what this is, fission. They regenerated. Yep, I sure did. So the question in the other class, or in 3rd period, was, you mean they don't bleed to death? There's no blood in starfish.
Really? How do we live?
So they're like, well, can you ever kill them? It's like, yeah, I mean, they won't get food. You know, there's pollutants. There's other reasons they can die. They can be eaten. Otters and like seals, they like to eat them. But, all right, so where's regeneration here? Yep, there it is, B. So cut it in half, and each side forms into a new worm. So this worm is sexual also, but it's a hermaphrodite. Did I tell y'all this story yesterday? Okay, so they are hermaphrodite, which means they have male and female parts. They work, but they can't fertilize themselves. So if they can't find a mate, they're not boys and girls, you just find another of the same species, then they will attach to the substrate and pull themselves apart, just so they can pass on their genes. So that's their goal. All right, so what's this one? No, it's mitosis because you start with 46, which will be 2N, and we get 2 of the same thing. Why do you do that? Yeah, grow, heal, to repair, absolutely. Sexual and meiosis go together. Recombination, that means variety. So we know all these words go together, so it can't be right because these are identical to the first. Okay, here's just a throw out an anatomy question. See if you can get it. So where is the ovary for the female?
4.
It's 3. It's 3.
3. 3 is the ovary. Yep.
And the uterus is 5.
So that makes the uterus 5. Yeah. So in a non-pregnant uterus, it's like down to here, okay? And the ovaries are in here. So when the uterus is pregnant, it actually goes all the way up to here. And then all your other organs get kind of squished around. All right, and then we've had this one before. Which of these stages is prophase? All right, so use that prophase. All right, which one's metaphase?
C.
Yeah, C, you're right. Meta-middle. Okay, which one's anaphase?
D.
Okay, and then we have telophase, and this one's real early telophase because we're going to start seeing these go away, and then we'll start seeing 2 nuclei come around. So we had already said that one was B. Okay. All right. So flip back these questions. We'll look at this in a second. Let's go ahead and look at the sexual life cycle. And I'm going to draw it on the board. So with this guy and this girl, so what do? Do you do mitosis, meiosis, or both? Both. All right. Which ones are you doing now? Trick question.
Meiosis.
You're making eggs. Caleb's not. Craig's not. They're making sperm. And you're making new cells too, because you have to replace them. You just do. So as you are if you're still growing, then you're doing it for that reason too. But you're healing and all of that. So we are doing both. Even though this says our sexual life cycle, it's actually showing that we do both of those throughout our life. Guys will end up, we do both throughout mitosis through our whole life cycle, but meiosis in a certain window of time. And for women, it's more narrow than for guys. So I actually made some very stereotypical looking pictures, but here we go. All right, they were not gender neutral by any means, but anyway. All right, so where does this guy, let's say the gene is cut on, he's starting to mature, and he is now that he's undergoing puberty, where is he making sperm? Where in his body?
Near his, like, inside his body, I forgot what they're called. His testicle. Yeah.
Okay, so right here and right here. So let's draw them some. Kind of look like they're on their hips, but anyway. So this is, we're going to call them testes. Testicles is the same, but you'll see testes, other animals. So this is going to be true for all the animals. We don't say that plants have testes, but we do say they have anthers. And those are the yellow things that make the pollen that are around a flower. But so the testes, so that's actually a type of gonad. It's a sex organ. It makes testosterone too, so it makes a hormone for him to become more male. Okay, how about for girls? What would be analogous? What would be the same type of organ but for a girl? Right. So, oops, not a line. Let's give her 2 ovaries in here. Okay. Now, because once they become functional, then they are going to undergo, bless you, meiosis. or meiosis, to make the gametes. Okay, so they're going to make the eggs. So let's make 1 egg a month, and it would be 23 chromosomes for us, but we also call it an ovum. Okay, so an ovum or egg, same thing. So if you see ove or ovary, it's going to mean, oh God, what happened?
I think he's putting it in.
Oh, I did, you're right. Oh, there we go. That just means egg. So ovum, ovary, ovulation, release an egg. All that goes together. Okay, so let's draw him a sperm, and we'll make it a lot bigger than it normally is, just so we can. There we go. So 1 in 23, and there's sperm. Okay, so he starts. He's going to make sperm for the rest of his life. For females, that's not true for us. We have a smaller window of time. So once puberty starts, we're actually born with all of the pre-eggs that we're going to have. We don't keep manufacturing them. They do. But then we go through a period called menopause. And that's the point where we stop having a period. We stop releasing an egg each month. So there's a certain point in our lives that nature takes over and says, okay, you're about too old to be a parent. And there are more problems that can happen inside of those eggs. So that's how we can get more of the chromosomal problems in kids. So anyway, when this sperm, though, comes together with this egg, that's fertilization. Okay, so when that sperm fertilizes the egg, then we're going to have, do you remember what we call this thing? Yeah, we're going to have a little zygote. And that's when you were the size of the tip of your pencil and your mom had no clue she was pregnant. So there, we just restored the chromosome number because now we have 46. And that's how you got your unique combination of DNA. So this one's unique and this one's unique. So now we have a genetically varied zygote. And nobody else should have your combination of genes unless the next thing happens. So let's say that from here on out, DNA doubles and you become a little ball of cells, each cell having 2 N chromosomes. Oops, for that. And then DNA doubles, and then you're a ball of 4 cells, and so forth. And this happens so as you grow and you divide. Stop. 2 N. So you become a little zygote, a little embryo. So all this is embryo. And you become to look like a little embryo with a tail. Okay. So everybody had this little extension, this little post-anal tail. So what happened to your tail?
It grew into yours.
Remember how
look like that?
You'll see it, I know. And you have little gill slits too, but we don't have gills. We have a gene for that, so those closed up. You have a little beating heart in here. You have this big old eye on each side of your head. They migrate to the front. All of it's genes. It's regulated. So eventually, remember how they said that cells will die? Apoptosis, cells commit suicide, or cells will die. There's a gene that initiates that, and that tail starts to be eaten up. So enzymes and other things are going to help with that. So you're right. Then the arms and legs grow, and you start to then look more like a little bow-legged fetus. And everybody was kind of scrunched up inside there. So here's our little fetus. So what determines if he forms or she forms into a boy versus a girl? All right, so what chromosomes will this baby have inherited all the way up here if it was going to develop into a male?
The XY.
Right. All right, and then how about for her?
XX.
Yeah. Okay, and we know there can be XXY, there can be XO, there can be other different combinations, but for the most part, if it has any like X's and no Y's, it's going to be female. Now, that goes into some of the transgender conversations, but, and that's going to be on a gene level that maybe there's some other things going on. But all of this is mitosis. All of this was mitosis. So growth and development and what you're currently doing, all this is mitosis. So the only time you're doing meiosis is to make those egg or those sperm. And that's your sexual life cycle. And all different species mature faster and able to start this earlier. Others may mature slower. So, think about how quickly a cat or a dog matures, or a rabbit. I mean, within the first year of life, they can already have their first babies. We're not like that. So everybody's strategy is different for survival. So where is fertilization take place? External or internal? Where does that?
Internal.
Right. So we have internal fertilization. So if you have internal fertilization, then go back. What? I don't know what just happened. If we have internal fertilization, then do you have less babies or more babies at one time? Can you have thousands of babies at one time? We have internal, so we have less offspring at one time. They're called reproductive episodes. So you have less offspring. Why would it be to your advantage to have less offspring at one time?
If you have like more than two, it's going to hurt your body.
Can you give enough care? All right, here's the flip side. Frogs, external fertilization, most fish. What they do is the male, it can be multiple males, they will, in the springtime, they will grab onto her back, and they have these long toes, and they will, it's basically like gouging her sides, and it causes her to release all these eggs into a body of water. It can be a little puddle, or it could be a pond, or whatever. And she's just releasing tons of eggs, tons and tons and tons, hundreds to thousands. So then all these males who are like trying to get her to release her eggs, they're putting their sperm on top of them. She just hops off. So what happens to all those fertilized little zygotes and those embryos? Do all of them?
Not all of them.
Sad fact is most of them are somebody's dinner. So only a handful will live. So what happens is, you've got all these fish who are going, that looks really good to me, and they just chomp them up. Or you might have other species that are there just waiting. So if you have internal fertilization, there's more protection for that baby. You put more energy into making sure the baby's going to live, and you carry it to term. So that's true for all mammals. We try to put more energy into that. But reptiles are that way. Reptiles then can lay eggs that hatch. Birds are that way. Then they can release eggs that hatch. But a lot of times they at least give some type of level of care. But if you're in external fertilization, you're going to release a whole bunch of babies or a whole bunch of eggs in hopes that a handful will live. So it's just different strategies. All right, so y'all stand up, take a break, because we've talked a lot. Before we get into this little video, and I want to show you this crossing over business. Okay, so take about a 2 or 3 minute break, stand up, get some water, and then we'll do this. Ooh, yeah, we got to start the video in a sec. we're good with that. Are y'all good? You sure? Because I know we can all kind of zone out after a little while. So. All right. Look at this sheet right here, and we'll just go ahead and I'll just want to walk you through it real fast, and we'll just label it, and then we'll start our little video. And it starts with this. How many chromosomes do y'all have normally in each of your cells?
26.
23 from each parent. So it'd be 46, right? Okay, we'll see how this cell just has 2. We would have 46 of those bad boys in there, okay? But they would all look like this, okay? And that is at the very beginning, at the original cell, we said starts with 2N. But what happened during S, and this is what Alexis said earlier, what happened during the S stage? Right, so this is all interphase. Y'all said the interphase happens before each of the cell divisions. So this is what that means. It got an identical sister, okay? Just like that. So because it got an identical sister, now we have double the DNA. So that's why we say we have, at this point, 92 chromosomes, okay? Because we have now extras. So here, that's why we say we have extra, which is 4N. So just put a little 4N right there. Here's where it gets real with meiosis. Is remember in mitosis, these things didn't pair up like this. These are homologous chromosomes. So like this would be number 1 from dad. Maybe this is number 1 from mom. They didn't pair up like this. Didn't they just all line up in the middle? Well, this is what's different. So meiosis 1, look what they're doing. They embrace each other. And when they do that, this is prophase 1. So this is the first stage, and this will be meiosis or meiosis 2. Okay, so there's our second division. But they're embracing, and look how every one of these now has a different part of the other. So it's like this. So it would be like these. Get it to pop off. Exchanged genes. So wherever they cross over, they exchange genes. They gene swap. Put it in there. Like that. So now this one, and maybe the whole bottom section of this one, and the whole bottom section of this one. It's not quite the same, but it's, you get the point. So it's like this. So now, check it out. Are these things identical anymore? That right there is why every one of your sperm and egg are different. Because of crossing over that took place between these genes. So this is what it means on a gene level. So let's say that this one had a big B gene for brown eyes, and maybe this one had a little B gene for blue eyes. Now this chromosome has a little B, and this one's got a big B. So they swapped out. So you get all these great combinations. So we're going to say homologous chromosomes cross over. And that's why we have genetic variation. So eventually they separate, and we have 2 cells, and we said they're both 2N, and then they separate again. And what did we say each of these would have in them? Are they 2 in or 1 in?
1 in.
1 in. So we just say, so 1 in, 1 in, 1 in, 1 in. And can y'all see how each one of them is different from each other? So if I kind of back this out, they're going to look like this. Every single one of them is now different. So that's kind of a cool thing. My teacher in 10th grade showed me with markers. And she had these markers, and she said hers were not gray on the bottoms. They were like, you know, all solid blue, all solid red. And she said, here they are. Here's dad's, here's mom's. Come together, and they switch tops. So when they switch tops like this, that's crossing over. So she showed us like that, and that's what I've pictured all these years. But she didn't have these pop-B chromosomes like we do. So now if I can switch them back the way they're supposed to be. Does that kind of make sense? What crossing over is like? So that's why everybody's a little different. Your sperm and egg can never be the exact same from each other. The only other thing I would say is, how does that compare to this? Does that look normal to you? Bottom diagram. What's happened?
There's 2 and 1 cell.
And look at this.
And 1 is empty.
That little sperm right there doesn't even have any. So when there's a problem in meiosis, when you get too many or too few, that's how we get Down syndrome, or how we get trisomy 13, or how we get Klinefelters. Is when the chromosomes don't fully separate and they just go like this, and we're like, I'm not separating, and they just go this way. And now this one has an extra, whatever this number is. If this was number 21, now this one's got an extra 21. So that's called non-disjunction. And that's just when you produce sperm or egg that have extra or not enough chromosomes. So, so sperm, egg with 4 too few chromosomes. And you would think, y'all, that those wouldn't make the journey, but they can. And if they fertilize an egg and create a baby, or if the egg is fertilized with that sperm, then that's what leads us to chromosomal problems. And like Down syndrome. I'm just going to put trisomy 21. So it's just there's a problem in meiosis that causes it. And you guys are going to get y'all are going to get to finish the little video because you won't get to finish it today. So we'll finish it tomorrow. All right. I've been running my mouth all the time. But now you're all caught up. Everybody's in the exact same spot. That's awesome. Okay. All right. So y'all can put everything up except your video questions, because those are the ones you're going to take notes on. The first, our goal is that you can get through if we can get 12 minutes in, we don't have that much time. No, I know if we get 12 minutes in, we actually get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions done just in the first 12 minutes. And you have to get 15. So we'll get at least probably half of them close to it. Maybe not quite, but y'all are mature enough to handle this video. I worry a little bit with, I actually have to fast forward part of it in my second period. I just can't handle it. So there is a part that's a little graphic, but it's not, you don't see it in person, but you see it through a scope. So anyway, you'll see. But it's a great video. And it's on YouTube. I know several folks in third period were like, can I just Google it and do the questions at home? I'm like, oh, of course you can. Obviously, you're more than welcome to. But the name of it is at the top. So if you are interested in doing that, or showing it to somebody, it's really great. when the bell rings, I'll cut it off. So I would just be ready to go. Just throw this paper in the bag and go. Come on. Speed up.
It may be the last thing on his mind, but this man's body is working toward this. Whether we're thinking about it or not, our bodies want to make babies. And our bodies are very good at it.
First question.
Around the world, about 365,000 new babies get made every day. But as ordinary as it seems, creating a new human being is no simple feat. Just think of it. No matter who you are, once upon a time, you looked like this. From a single cell, you built a body that has 100 trillion cells. You made hundreds of different kinds of tissues and dozens of organs, including a brain that allows you to do remarkable things. How did you do it? Today, we can look closer than ever before into the womb, into a cell, into the essence of life itself. Not only can we see what's happening, but now we're beginning to see how it happens. The forces that build the embryo, the molecules that drive this remarkable change. We're uncovering the most intimate details of how life is created.
And we're going to fast forward it through that little intro part.
They can't help themselves. The urge to procreate is a fundamental part of life, not just for us, but for all life. Why is this urge so universal? At least some blame can probably go to this. DNA, the molecule that carries our genes, the chemical instructions for building our bodies and keeping us alive, all wrapped up in a tiny winding staircase.
This will get like 2, 3,
DNA
4.
has run the show for more than 4 billion years for one main reason. It's very good at making copies of itself. The copies can get passed to a new generation in a couple of ways. If you're a bacterium, you might be into cloning, making exact replicas of yourself. All your descendants have the same DNA, and except for an occasional mutant, are just like you. It's simple, it works, and genetically, it's extremely boring. It can also be dangerous.
Here's 3.
If humans were all clones, everyone would have the exact same immune system, and one successful parasite could wipe us all out. Fortunately, there's sex, the method of choice for 99.9% of the organisms on Earth, more complex than bacteria. With sexual reproduction, two individuals each provide some DNA. Most animals put it into sperm or eggs. If the two can get together, a new being will be created, one that's different from its parents and everybody else. Where there's sex, there's variety. And when it comes to survival of the fittest, variety has a definite advantage. All this comes at a price. Sexual reproduction may be popular, but it's also quite tricky. To get an idea of how tricky, just take a peek inside a man's testicle. It's packed with tiny tubes coiled into bundles. Stretched out, they could cover half a mile. Inside all this tubing, the average man is churning out 1,000 new sperm every second. That's about 100 million new sperm every day, and more than 2 trillion over a lifetime. And here's the tricky part. Each and every sperm is one of a kind, carrying a unique genetic package. How is this possible? How can one person produce so many different combinations of genes? The answer lies in the very special way we make sperm and eggs, a process called meiosis. In almost every cell of your body, you have 30,000 or more different genes, spread out on very long strands of DNA called chromosomes. Cells have 2 versions of every gene on a total of 46 chromosomes. Exactly half of those, 23, came from your mom, and 23 came from your dad. They come in pairs, where the partners are very similar but not quite the same. The only time they get together is during meiosis. Here's how it works inside a testicle that's making sperm. First, each chromosome makes an exact copy of itself, keeping it attached at one point. They condense, creating an X shape. Now the chromosome partners get together, and the 2, or actually 4, will embrace. They cling so closely, big chunks carrying whole.
All right, see y'all.